Well, hello, everybody. It is your pals, Dennis and Andy, with your Friday movie review. And Halloween was over almost a month ago, but we still went and saw a spooky movie. We saw Heretic last night, starring Hugh Grant and a couple female actresses that I couldn't tell you their names, but we'll get to them. Dennis, what is Heretic about?
Heretic is a great A24 movie. They usually put out some interesting ones. It's about these two young religious women. They're sisters, part of the Church of Latter-day Saints, and they're drawn into a game of cat and mouse with the aforementioned Hugh Grant, who's a strange man who has an even stranger house who plays a game with them.
He does. So, who are the two? Might as well mention them. And I didn't mean to.
So the one thing I'll say is the previews made us want to see this.
Yes.
The directors and writers were Scott Beck and Brian Woods, the ones that did 65, and that was not a great movie. So I was like, oh boy, I hope this is better. So I'm happy to say that is definitely a thumbs up from 65. The girls, Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East, play the two sisters that are going around the city visiting the people that were requesting more information about how the Latter-day Saints work.
That's right. So, it dives into it pretty quickly. You get a little bit of backstory with the girls talking as they're riding their bikes around the town, and then they show up at Hugh Grant's place, and it's a house kind of on the fringes, I guess you would say, and they do their thing where they lock their bikes up because you don't want them to get stolen. Not that I think they'd have to worry about it, but it was one of those things. If you've seen enough movies, the way they showed it and paid attention to it, you're like, I bet that lock comes into play later. Um, they did that a few times.
People would steal their bikes. They do get picked on by other girls in town.
They
pull down
do.
their pants for their magic panties and get teased about it. But they just go on. They're upset, but they go on doing their business.
They do, and they get to Hugh's house, and it's getting stormy. It starts to rain. Anyhow, he signed up wanting to know more information. That's why they went there. So he opens the door. He invites them in, and of course they're like, "Whoa, whoa, can't really come in unless there's a woman present." And he's, "Oh, my wife's inside baking a pie." All this stuff you pretty much saw in the trailer. So they go in the house and they sit down on the couch and they're talking and stuff. And Hugh plays. I thought Hugh was fantastic. To me, he was the highlight of the movie. Not nothing against the girls, but maybe I've seen these actresses before. Nothing is popping into my head. That's not strange with my memory and stuff. But we all know Hugh Grant. We see him in lots of things. He's definitely older now, and he definitely looks it. But like I said, I thought whenever he was on screen, his character was very intriguing, and just his acting and stuff. I thought he was great. And one more thing, now I'll let you go on. I thought the girls, I thought they did a great job acting too. And the nice thing about it was, because I don't know them, or at least I didn't recognize them, I believed them more. I guess the problem with Hugh Grant is I kept going, "Oh, it's Hugh Grant. Oh, it's Hugh Grant."
Yeah. So the acting I thought was fantastic across the board. So Hugh is controlling the conversation. He brings them in and starts asking questions about their religions, but he's asking a lot of very poignant, pertinent questions, very specific ones that he wants answers to. And the girls are a little taken back, but he comes off as not just an old, like, creepy guy. He's the charming guy, even though there needs to be a lady present for us to walk in. Oh, my wife's just in baking a pie. Oh, it's okay. Would you like drinks? And then he brings out a couple of drinks, and the girls are, they're disarmed like they want to be. But he serves them Coca-Cola, which comes into play later in the movie versus, say, water. But he starts asking them all these questions. The real cool part was Sister Paxton. She's the blonde one that looks like she's very naive. She's never converted anybody. And there's Sister Barnes, and she's the brunette, and she's got a slit, so you can tell she's got a contraceptive, one of those implants in her arm. She was converted into the church where Sister Paxton grew up in the church and was fully in there. So you've got two complete opposites that are in here. And throughout all of this cat and mouse play, as you're figuring out who's doing what, the girls play off each other and react very, very well. There's a lot of really subtle things in there where you start feeling uneasy, then you start getting tension. And then, like you see, when the girls realize that they're trapped, in the trailer, you see him, he writes, you can either choose the belief door or the disbelief door. And the tension starts coming up. There's a scene where you can see a bead of sweat, on her. She knows she's in danger, but they're not saying anything. But it's just so intriguing, the conversation, and it becomes a theological conversation that the girls wind up having. A lot of this stuff we will save for the spoiler section, because anything that we go here will probably give away way too much. So we'll do some non-spoiler stuff here, tell you what we think, and then we'll come in at the end with all the spoiler talk, which you're going to want to stay for.
Yeah, so I mean, like Dennis said, eventually they realize something's kind of strange because Hugh left the room to go get his wife. So they kind of explore some. They try to leave. The door's locked. Front door's locked. They can't leave that way. Then they realize they don't have their coats anyhow, and they don't really need the coats except, the bike lock is in the pocket of a coat. So they go investigate, and that's when they find this room that it's basically like a big library. And like Dennis says, it has these two doors. And, Hugh's pretty much like, you guys can leave. And then he writes on the door, chalk, belief, disbelief, pick a door. Just go right out the back, whatever. And he does. He has this theological talk with them beforehand, which I thought that was pretty entertaining too. That section
It's
of the
really
movie.
good. We'll get into that more in the spoiler section.
Yeah. So, kind of like in the trailer, they do pick a door and they go down into the basement, and that's kind of where the trailer leaves everything off. It's definitely more of a thriller than a horror movie. I thought the trailer played it up like a horror movie.
It's really, they consider it a psychological horror, psychological thriller. And it really was. It wasn't all that horrific, but it was. There's only one jump scare in it, but the tension, it continuously builds. First, it's a little creepy. Then there's tension. Then there's some panic. And it really sets in, and the girls are realizing, what is it that we can do to escape? And there's a lot of creative, inventive things that they do with it. But, we have to talk about all that stuff in the spoiler section.
All right. So, to recap, Hugh's performance was great. The girls' performance, I thought they were also very well done. I guess we'll just give it our CGC grades that we do. I believe it's my turn.
Yep.
To go first. I got to be honest. I think we're going to be pretty different on this. I don't know. It wasn't really my cup of tea. It didn't meet kind of any expectations I had, and I tried going to movies without any, but you do have some once you see the trailer, and it just took a different turn that I was just hoping for something else. I mean, I'm just giving it a flat out 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it honestly, it just left me kind of cold. Like, I really felt so last week. If you didn't watch, we reviewed Red One, the new Dwayne Johnson movie, and I think I gave that a 4.5, and I think you gave it a 4. Anyhow, point is, I was driving home and I thought to myself, 2 weeks, 2 movies, 2 duds. Damn it.
Well, yeah, you and I are way apart on this one. I thought this was a fantastic movie. There are so many layers in this movie I can't wait to talk about. The ending, I really can't wait to find out what you thought about the ending and what your thoughts are on it, because
I'll tell you.
Interpret it. So I am giving this an 8.5. I think.
Oh my God, you've got to be kidding me.
Not at all. I love this movie.
We have never been this far apart. That just shows the left-hand side of your screen is sanity. The right-hand side of your screen is insanity. It's kind of like belief, disbelief. I'm in disbelief that you gave this an 8.5.
I was debating between an 8.5 and a 9.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
I thought you might go for a 7, and I'd go,
let us talk spoilers.
Well, let's see what the critics say first.
Oh, yeah, we actually do got to do that.
Now I'm dying to know who's closer.
IMDb's a 7.2, which is about right.
That's an average.
For us.
8 and 5 is 13 divided by 2. So
the critics are giving it on Rotten Tomatoes a 91%.
Oh,
and the audience is giving it a 77%.
I can see why the critics would do it, because they're all hoity-toity and think too much of stuff like you are with this one. All right, guys, like, subscribe, and share. Go check out Kor-Drath, The Awakening. The link is in the description below. It's our crowdfund. It's coming along swimmingly. Barbarians, undead zombies, fighting, warrior stuff. Trust me, click on the link, peruse it, and please back the book. It's your support that lets us create this book for you. All right. It is spoiler time. If you don't want spoilers and you want to see this movie, we thank you for watching. But now we're going to spoil the shit out of it, and I'm going to try and talk Dennis down to at least a 6 with some common sense.
Not
8.5.
I am telling you.
You want to jump? You want to jump? Are we doing spoilers in order or out of order?
I don't know. We can do either way. We can. We should kind of do them. I guess in order.
That's fine.
Because the theological debate that they have,
that was great.
He uses so many analogies. He starts off talking about Monopoly board games, and I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting. I wonder why he's asking." Because, I said,
wait, let's back it up. Did he start off with Monopoly, or did he start off with?
He started off with Monopoly,
and then he went into the religions. Okay.
Well, he started off with Monopoly first.
Yep.
And then he goes, everybody knows this game, and he opens it up.
Yep.
And then he goes, but just like all the other things, and he starts relating it to religion, that the landlord's game here's the original one. And it was created by a woman like 40, 50 years earlier. And it's the exact same game just about, but Monopoly became the version that got stolen. And it was a really cool analogy. Well, then he starts introducing that concept with, he starts talking about the Holy Bible. He starts talking about Judaism. He starts talking about Islam and the Quran. And then he brings up the Book of Mormon, which is kind of like Monopoly. It's just another.
And what they're there for. Yep.
Right. And again, it's a really good analogy. There's so many things that tie in. And then there was a song, The Air That You Breathe by the Hollies. It was another analogy with it. And he was playing the song in the background. And then that song, Radiohead, they wound up suing Radiohead because Radiohead had swiped it. And then years later, Radiohead had swiped it from Lana Del Rey, or she swiped it from them. So they got sued. But he's basically saying they're all iterations of everything in there. And then they start talking about Jesus Christ. He was, born on December 25th. He was born of a virgin. There was a star in the east. He got resurrected after 3 days, and stuff like that. And then they start talking about, Attis, the Greek Attis, Krishna, also born of a virgin. And then, they named off a whole bunch of different ones, Dionysus, but they were many of them were born to a virgin, born on the 25th. They were resurrected after 3 days, and he goes, all your religions are basically an iteration of the one religion. So what is the one religion? And that becomes
the question,
the focal point of this entire movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Superman. You've got Superman, you could say is the original, and then literally all these iterations off of them. So you get to the part after all that, they choose a door to go down. And this is where I'm like, what's going to happen when they go down here? And they basically just get to a basement, a cellar, concrete cellar. There's a table in the middle of the room with one chair.
And it didn't matter which door you picked. That was awesome because they both take you right to the same place.
Exactly. So they get down there, and he asks them if they want to see a miracle. And this woman comes walking in that, she's got a blanket, something, covering her and stuff. And she has a blueberry pie, and she sets it down, and, cutting to the chase is basically, he says, she's going to eat the pie, but it's not just any pie because it was laced with basically poison. She's going to die and then, come back to life.
She'll be resurrected.
So, she eats the pie, face down into the pie. And he's like, check her pulse, see if she's breathing. Is she dead? Yeah, she's dead. And he's doing all this from like an intercom thing, up above. And then you can continue.
So it's in there. They're dead. And then somebody comes ringing the doorbell, interrupting everything. And it's the one of the fellow religious guys from the Latter-day Saints, because they haven't checked in, they haven't returned yet. So he comes looking for him. This is another thing I appreciated. It was Topher Grace, and I even said during the movie, I'm like, that's Topher Grace. It looked like his eyes, but it really didn't look like him, but you could tell by his eyes. And I'm like, oh, this is usually a trope Andy and I talk about in all the movies. Oh, famous guy. Yeah, other than the main actor. Yep, he's going to wind up being a villain or doing something in there. Nope. What it was maybe just a cameo or whatever, but it threw it off. But it was great. He was in there. He winds up. The girls are trying to get out when he's up there talking to them. They're screaming. They're trying to escape. It doesn't happen. The girls wind up going back down the stairs, but Paxton notices that the prophet is still laying there, but she's in a slightly different position. She moved. No, she didn't. Yes, she did. She was different. Again, Paxton notices all of these things. You really think that Barnes is the smart one because she really comes across smart at the beginning. And the other girl seems very innocent and naive.
Oh, timid, innocent.
But
she grew up in the church.
This whole thing all along. It was fantastic. And there's so many subtle, tiny little clues, like a drop of bead when she's talking to him of sweat there. She notices he had gone outside. That's why the lock was gone. Their bikes were gone. The key was missing, and it was in the other pocket. His hair was wet. She had noticed all of these things on there. It was just so well done.
It was one of those things where, she started to shine in the movie, and you kind of got the sense early on out of the two, she was gonna be the one in a way. And then, like Dennis said, she picks up on all these little clues, and we are kind of going out of order. And one of the things, and it's not, I mean, it's kind of a trope. At the end of the movie, she recounts all this stuff that she picked up. And then, of course, they show the clips as she's recounting it and stuff. I thought that was interesting. The
Yeah,
thing
he
that,
winds up stabbing Barnes, and and then she dies, and she's laying there. So then we'll just kind of jump to the ending here, because this is the super important part of the movie. So she's dead, and while he was overconfident, she had one of like the big letter opener that was there. She stabbed him through the neck. She had run back down. He's standing there. He's bleeding. He stabs Paxton with the cutter. So they're both laying there bleeding, but he's crawling up to her, and he's just going to finish her off. All of a sudden, Barnes, and a miracle, is there. There was this board with the nails, which was foreshadowed earlier that they broke down. She smashes him in the head, saving his life. She winds up going back upstairs and finding the little model of the house to find out where it goes. She escapes. She gets on her phone, and it's snowy out there. Tell me what your thoughts are on the ending.
One of my pet peeves, critiques that I always say with you is you just went through all that, and I saw the movie, and I'm listening to you retell this stuff, and I'm confused. You got to do a better job breaking it down.
Fill in any spot I miss. Tell me about the ending.
So we are leaving some things out that aren't as important. So you did cover the important stuff. Hugh Grant's character, they're all three of them are down in the cellar. And the girl, the blonde hair girl's Paxton. Blonde hair girl Paxton. Hugh Grant is basically facing off to the brunette, and Paxton's behind Hugh Grant. And she does have this, letter opener type thing that she was able to smuggle from his office into her jacket. And the girl set up previously, if the dark hair girl distracts him, she's got to pull the letter opener out and stab him in the neck to kill him so they can escape. Okay. Well, before they can do that, Hugh Grant slices the brunette girl's neck, and it's that type of slice. Blood. She falls down. Lots of blood. He then, and I think this is important to tell, cuts into her arm, and it was kind of gross. And he pulls out, he's like, oh, that's a vein. That's not what he's looking for. And he pulls out the little birth control device.
Calls it a microchip.
Huh?
He calls it a microchip.
He calls it a microchip, but that's
he's an NPC.
Yeah, but that's not what it is. So that is an important part, because he then goes in trying to tell Paxton, maybe we're all just NPCs and this is all simulation theory, which I found kind of interesting, because I've heard other people talk about, is this all real or is it just a simulation? Whatever.
That's the Matrix.
Yeah. And she basically is like, no, that's her birth control. Just, now you're just talking stupid. But the point is, now we catch up to, yes, eventually she stabs him in the head. He crawls up to her, and there's only one thing that can save her. And it's got to be her friend that's dead gets up and slams him in the head with the board with the nails. And then after she does that, he's obviously dead. She basically collapses into her friend's arms, and she's dead again. And I'll say again, because she was dead. That throat slit was dead. I could even go as far as saying the digging in the arm would bleed out enough. Even more. Dead. And I got to be honest, dude, that's where I kind of lost it for me, because I'm like, oh, I really thought to myself, and we've all heard this saying. So if you're watching this, you've never heard this, you can Google it. But I know you've heard it before. Jump the shark.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
no.
you have got to be kidding me. You expect me to believe she wasn't dead? No.
So,
And now you
so,
want me to believe that this is just a miracle that saved her life because the girl was praying and stuff. I'm
so
just like, nope.
yep, and I knew that's exactly what you thought going into it. That is not how I took it at all. I really wanted to talk to you after the movie,
So
but
what
we
did you
never
take it
do.
as? She
So,
wasn't dead?
oh no, she's dead. She's dead. As a matter of fact, um, is Mr. Reed, and that was another funny thing I picked on right away. His name, even the way they said it, Paxton did at the beginning, Mr. Reed, and it was like his name is Mystery, and I was
Right.
like, oh, that's interesting. When we get down to it, though, Mr. Reed is on top of her. He stabbed her. She's bleeding out. Paxton is the blonde one, and she's like, oh. So what really happened there? This was all in her mind. She was bleeding out and dying because they foreshadow it earlier in the movie when they start talking about near-death experiences. Your oxygen disappears from your brain, you start hallucinating, you start having all of these, and they describe everything. So what happens in my mind is she's dying out because she talks about being reincarnated as a butterfly earlier
Yep.
again. Oh, even though Latter-day Saints, they don't believe in reincarnation. So I thought that was a little weird. But she goes, if I ever I'd come back reincarnated as a butterfly, and I would land on the finger of the person I wanted to so they knew it was me. So she's dying, and there's nobody. All of this is in her head. She never makes it up the stairs. She bleeds out. She's on her near-death experience because the way they show it, she walks up upstairs, she manages to get up there, goes through the model, which did exist, but there is no way there would be an escape route built into it because that was meant to keep all of the other girls that he's trapped over the years there. Nobody ever escapes. So that's weird. So suddenly it has this happy ending. She goes outside. It's snowing. It's almost like you're in the clouds. She's sitting down. She's kneeling. She gets a signal on her phone. The butterfly is there on her finger, and then the butterfly just disappears like that. All of this was in her mind as she died in the basement with him.
So do you think so what you're saying is he did crawl up to her, but he probably died before he could stab her again, and she was just laying there and bled out, and that was all in her mind.
Yes, she had her near death experience, and she
Well, it's
describes it
not near
earlier
death
in the
because she
movie.
actually died. It's
But I'm saying you hit that point where your
oh
mind
right,
is going through all of this, and
right.
in her mind, it's lifting her up. She's going to a better place. Everything's working out, and that's when the movie ended. I thought it was absolutely brilliant because, again, if you're literal, you would have taken it where, oh my God, she woke up, clubbed her, she was already dead. What a stupid ending. But
See, I if it was me, I don't like. I guess my problem is then is I want to know for sure. I don't like walking out of movies questioning stuff. So, if after the butterfly thing, when she's outside, the very like last scene of the movie, she's outside, butterfly lands, disappears, whatever, that's when the screen goes dark, movie's over. However, if instead of the screen going dark or the screen goes dark, right? And there is no after credit stuff. So if you guys go see this, just leave as soon as they goes black and whatnot. But if there was an after credit scene and it was like that dude, Topher Grace, showing up again with some cops because they got a bad feeling and they bust into the house and they walk downstairs and they see all three of them down there dead. You know, the brunette in the same position she was in when she died, got killed, and then Paxton and Hugh Grant slumped against the wall dead. Then I would have known for sure, and I would have been like, that was fucking cool.
See, and I'm pretty sure now I'd be interested. You guys, as you watch this movie, leave your comments down below. I think they leave it open just like that so we can have these dumbass debates because we can sit there. I really want to see this movie again because I started paying attention to all the little questions he was asking throughout it and how they all had relevance, but I don't remember all of them because just so engrossed in it. So I actually need to see this again to see if I change my opinion at all. But I love the fact that it's open ending because we're having this extended conversation to try and come up with how the ending really was taken. So, like I say, leave your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts when you see it. How would you interpret the ending, or do you have a different interpretation?
Yeah, and I can see your point because I remember the conversations they had in it about, oh, when somebody dies and blah blah blah. But I get it. So you guys go see it, check it out, let us know what you think, and we'll tell you that Kor-Drath, The Awakening, is kicking butt and taking names. I'm working on I got 7.5 pages left. So 64 pages, ball busting barbarian action. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, Game of Thrones, a little bit or a lot of Conan mixed in, you will love Kor-Drath, The Awakening. Get ready for the next chapter in the Kor-Drath saga as they have to save the Shattered Reach. Can they do it? Will they do it? What mysteries will be answered in this next chapter of the Kor-Drath saga? Guys, go check it out. Lots of covers to choose from. And we've got a collector box where you can get all the covers and stuff. We got mini figures, so much more. I could show it to you, or you could click the link below, peruse at it at your leisure, and back the book. It's your support that allows us to bring this stuff to you. Next week is Thanksgiving, and Dennis will be out of town visiting family. I will be doing Thanksgiving stuff. No show on Wednesday, no movie review on Friday. We'll be back at it the following week, December 4th. Bart Sears is the guest on the show, and then we will see a movie so
That's
we
right.
can get a good review for you guys on December 6th. So until then, have a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
And
Thanksgiving, everybody. Live long and prosper.
that's right. Bye bye, everybody.